social media the other day, as you do. I was just scrolling through, see what was going on, and I was really shocked to find a post that came up that was a sponsored post from a well-known newspaper, and wasn't more shocked rather than horrified when I kind of delved into it a little bit, because I could see this kind of comments thing going on. And the gist of this article was basically that the notion that you have some kind of control over your health and your life is a conspiracy theory, right? And that, it was feeding into this whole, this particular publication has, I've seen a number of headlines recently that have been quite surprising to me, that they've actually made it through some kind of editorial process, because far from the comments that they themselves have been making about, actually being quite insulting towards certain groups of people, and then this latest thing, this notion that if you can kind of help yourself, the notion that you can help yourself and have some kind of command over your own body and your own health and your own life, is some sort of hideous conspiracy theory. And effectively that these people who tout this kind of information should be punished in some way, or at least ridiculed. I mean, it made me really stop and think. And it made me, it's one of those moments like, wow, have we really come to this right now? This notion that in the space of 2 years, we have come to a position where the notion that we can look after ourselves in some way is controversial, right? And I stupidly sort of started delving into the comments section, and made a couple of kind of points, and I had to hold back, because I think the trouble is, this stuff draws you in, doesn't it? And you kind of had this like outrage, and then it's like, how can they think this stupid thing? How can they believe this stuff that's being printed out there? And this is the mainstream. This is the stuff which like everybody gets to see, and how influential that is. And of course, with publications like this, is the notion that people use these kinds of things as examples of credibility. Oh, because you got your information from a professor of whatever, and you happen to view it on YouTube, somehow makes that less credible than a mainstream newspaper that is funded from various dubious sources, and this notion that because they've always been there and they're always mainstream, and they've had these good reputations, that somehow we must bow down to their infinite wisdom and make the assumption that there are no other alternative credible options than what they've come up with. And it made me realise that the message of personal responsibility is more important now than it ever has been. And I've been thinking for quite some time about how I can make some kind of contribution out there, and I've been really reluctant to dive into the whole battle arena of whether it's COVID or some other thing like that. And I think that we've gone past that issue now, that the whole COVID situation is just like a manifestation of where we have come as a civilization in terms of how we are prepared to outsource things to external forces. All right. And one of the things that I've been thinking about and writing about for a long time, and this goes right back to my own personal experiences of what happened to me as a result of outsourcing my health to other people. It's made me start to think, for a while in the field that I've been focused on, which is primarily in mental health and psychology and psychiatry, I actually felt that, and I think, many people who are in the same kind of arena that I am around espousing the fact that there are plenty of ways of looking after, taking care of your mental and emotional health that don't involve being pathologized or medicated up to the eyeballs. And for me, the notion around the COVID situation and the attendant treatments that are being proposed, or the way of dealing with that are being proposed, this is just, for me, an extension of on a kind of more general scale of something I've been talking about for many, many years now in my own specific field, and it's no different. And of course, what happens, in my own field, a lot of work has been done around identifying things like the sources of the information that we're given and the conflicts of interest of the individuals and the groups involved in disseminating the information about mental emotional health, for example. And a lot of that work's been done, and to a certain extent it's been coming further and further towards the most people recognizing that a certain type of medication isn't going to make you happy. So that's when it's in relation to mental health. And the work that I do with people focuses on personal responsibility and something that we call purposeful health. And in the purposeful health model, it's always been about being able to be as informed as possible about your own health. And that includes, if you're going to visit a doctor, for example, about your health, that you are already going armed with research that you've done, with information that you've collected, and also with a notion of the outcome that you would like for your own health. Rather than turning up to the doctors and saying, I feel like this, tell me what to do. All right. And that's always been something that I've worked with people around, is how we can kind of get into discussion with our healthcare provider or our practitioner or of any type, and together share the knowledge and information that we both have, or there might be more than two people involved in that discussion, but sharing the information and coming to the decisions for your health that is best for you and your body and your life at that particular time, and doing that in partnership with your GP, say, for example, or your psychiatrist, or whichever type of healthcare provider you want to go to. And it seems to me that we'd come so far with that 2 years ago, I was almost at a point in my own work where I was thinking, gosh, we're nearly there. The work's almost been done. It's people were receiving the message willingly. They were even asking the questions about, for example, I've been told I have this illness, and I've been told that medication is an answer, but I'm not satisfied with that. I want to explore other options. It was coming to that sort of position where people were generally more curious about their health and wanting to find other ways, and also being quite aware that a one-size-fits-all approach, there's a pill that you can take for this thing, is not the answer. Now, it might be part of the answer, okay? So I'm not advocating that we should never go down that route. I have my own personal preferences with that, but I would never tell somebody that they mustn't take a certain route, because I'm not them. It's not my body. It's not my life. All right. But what I do is make sure that people have all the information that they need to make a fully informed choice about something, and about which form of support or treatment or help that they feel is best for them, and also that they have the option to change their mind and make a different choice. And the fact that we have come like 2 years down the road, and like extremely mainstream, influential publications are suggesting that it's absolutely punishable or ridiculous or laughable that we should think that there are any other options for us other than to outsource our health to basically the highest bidder, right? That's where we're at, honestly, right now. Is an absolutely horrifying position that we've come to, in my view. And for that reason, as I say, I've been wondering how I can contribute over the years. I've sometimes thought, well, what have I got to say? What does my little voice say? I've got like one follower somewhere, and it probably lives on the moon or something. But I think now, if you are someone who believes that you can change your life circumstances, that you can improve your health, that you can have aspirations for your life and your health that are better than where you are now, and that you also believe that there's more than one route to get there, then I think you need to be speaking out. And I think we all need to hear what you have to say. And I think the more people that are out there saying this, the more likely we are to get some kind of balance going on in this arena that is so heavily one-sided that I don't know where it's going to lead from here. So I think I'm kind of going to plan a series of really short videos, and I'm not known for my brevity or succinctness, but I think I'm going to just try some little bite-sized things just to perhaps get people to think slightly differently about where we're at right now. Because the trajectory that we are on, that everybody has to follow this particular route through life and with our health, is one of the most preposterous and dangerous ideas I've ever come across. And I have a lot more to say about that. and a lot more to say about the whys and the wherefores and everything else. But I also understand that those of us who have a slightly different position on this stuff are treading a really narrow path at the moment. Because of course, as I said earlier, if you haven't got the backing of all of the kind of approved people that are speaking on these different topics, then it's like an us and them. You know, you're not with us, you're kind of against us, and therefore no one should listen to you, and there are all these reasons why you're wrong. And I actually think that's inverse, actually. There are many, many reasons, and there are many, many ways in which those different voices have something really useful and helpful to teach us. Anyway, I don't know if that made any sense, but I'm going to give it a go, I think.